Good morning, guys. Good morning. Welcome to FYI for your information. It is Monday, the 25th of July, 2022. And we're here with you this morning to bring you credible information as we always do. I am Jaretta Finance, and it is a pleasure to be here with you to have these conversations. So much going on in our country. I know in Georgetown it has been not so good waking up this morning for a lot of folks. I see a lot of people just trying their best to make their way through the flood waters. It's absolute chaos with that, and I am, uh, to say the least. This morning I'm trying to put it over in the right words without getting too upset about it. But this morning I actually saw a woman, trying to get her little nursery school child to school through the flood waters, and I'm like, oh, this is not it. This is not it. This is when I really love the fact that I'm from Bartica, and I remember, that huge flood that we had so many years ago. The fact that I was the first to get back home when that happened, and I saw the waters there this morning, and just a stark reminder of how that happened. Guys, if you heard me a little hoarse this morning, I don't know what's going on with the throat, but it is what it is. But we're going to be here having the discussions. Nevertheless, let me know what's going on your end. I see Beatrice has been in the house very, very early this morning. Beatrice, you're always here. Always a pleasure to be here with you. I see Vashti Magnat is here this morning. Good morning to you, Vashti. How is it at your end? I'm seeing, is it Maureen Williams? Good morning to you, Maureen. What's going on? Let me know how you're hearing us, making sure everything is good, clear audio and all. Derek Smith, good morning to you, joining us from Facebook this morning. Tommy Gibbs on through the YouTube platform. Dawn Cook joining us from the West Coast. What's going on the West Coast, Dawn? Let me know what's going on over there. And Simone Hooper, good morning to you, Simone. What is up at your end? I have a packed day ahead of me. It's the beginning of the week. You know what we say? We always say that at the beginning of the week, make sure that you have a to-do list. Make sure that you check off. Make sure that you get some stuff in. Work is always there, but if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. That's my philosophy to that altogether. I see Paulette Kippins is there. Says, good morning, my dear. Good morning to you, Paulette. How are you this morning? What is going on? Guys, let me know how many of you actually went to the Building Expo. What's your experience like? Did you get anything useful? Was it useful to you at all? I personally went there. I don't go looking for trouble, but I always find it nevertheless. But I'm going to have a brief set of discussion on that as we welcome more persons onto the platform this morning, as we continue to see you guys in. Let me know what is going on at your end. When it comes to the Building Expo, let me tell you. So I was there yesterday afternoon, and the very first thing I thought there was like, persons going directly to the gate, but then they had to be turned back to get to a bus, to line up at the bus to get tickets to go in. I saw the potential for a bit of trouble there, but nevertheless I went in. But when I was leaving yesterday, it was absolute chaos yesterday when I was leaving, because the line was ridiculously long, going all the way to the corner there at Princess Eve. Persons were trying to get parking. Well, parking would have been a mess. Traffic was a mess. Well, that is something that I think once you have that event at that location, it's going to be chaotic. But one of the things I was upset about is the fact that I saw there were several persons there reselling tickets, So the ticket to go in was $300 per ticket. You buy it at the bus and then you go in. But then there were several persons actually reselling tickets now yesterday afternoon. And that was very upsetting to me, for the very fact there's the ridiculously long line. And then these persons are there reselling the tickets. The problem is that how they got the tickets in the first place is because the persons, the officials that are selling the tickets, decided to sell people tickets in bulk. And once you do that, that's the avenue that you open up. So I was very upset about the fact that persons were allowed to get tickets in bulk. I may have a couple of those photographs myself, because I took it myself. Most ridiculous, but I did learn that during the course, I believe, of the night, or sometime during the night, that was the gates were opened up. So I know today you're not supposed to be paying to go in and so forth, but I think that that was a very, very big mess up by the person selling the tickets, that they actually sold tickets to persons in bulk. So persons could have stood up further down the line to sell the tickets back for $500. Absolute nonsense. But that was one of my issues there yesterday. Michael Gittens, I see you there in the comment section. You're up early this morning. And Gwyneth Anderson. Gwyneth said, yes, that was disgusting to get tickets to get in. Riri, I see you there this morning. Also, good morning. Only Diana, these slackness do happen. You know, sometimes I wonder the same thing. I wonder, because if you're selling tickets and you're selling it to, for somebody come and they want to buy 50 tickets, are you just going to sell it to them just like that? Come on. You know what you're about to create there, the issues that you're creating there. I did see a lot of local businesses there yesterday, and as soon as I got in, and no sooner than I get to that, I think I got to like a couple booths in. Let me just not give a specific number. I know I had some business persons coming and giving me. They were complaining a bit about the number of foreigners that actually got booths in there. And they were complaining about the investment opportunities, the level playing field that they were hoping to get their hands on. So a lot of persons there, some interesting perspective altogether. But I didn't get the impression that the ordinary Guyanese, there was an avenue for them to benefit. They get a lot of complaints. I can tell you that. I have to be fair, you know. I have to be fair. And I say kudos to all the local businesses. Let me just not go in the negative. Kudos to every single last one of the local businesses that set up a booth in there and they were doing their thing, you know, being on this, having their product on display and so forth. Absolutely great job from you guys. I wish you absolutely nothing but the best. And we come out and we have discussions. We fight to make sure that you are there and you are given equitable opportunities to actually compete and get a part of this market that is out there. So let me say that before I go into anything else. One of the things that I did have trouble with is the way in which that the actual well, let me start from the beginning. Notices went out, guys. You would know that notices went out asking persons, calling in people, letters rather, went out to specific people for them to bring in cash to go there and actually have house lot allocations to them and so. And that was a bit of something that I got a lot of comments for, a lot of complaints about. I know some persons called and said they were there since morning, 5 hours after. They're there literally waiting with cash in hand. You know, that's danger all by itself. Waiting there with cash in hand. 5 hours after, no one can tell them where to go, how to do things. A lot of persons that showed up, that got called and showed up without the money, because come on, $750,000 is not something that somebody just have it. You know, the ordinary guy needs just have waiting there for them. So a lot of persons went there to try to see what other negotiations they can go into to see how if they would get an opportunity to pay the money later and all of that. A lot of persons showing up that did not have it all. Persons being given numbers, and at hours after, then the number system was just squashed and then they were put to line up. So those bits of hiccups along the way, you know, it's when you're having an event, and I think that we have our own experience as dealing with these things, especially when it comes to housing, anything to do with house lot distribution, and so that's a major concern of Guyanese. And I did not like the fact that persons are asked to walk with money. I'm not even talking about the magnitude of money, because that's a whole different conversation all by itself. I did not like that altogether. Absolute nonsense. But again, I say, you know, it's good to see on display the local businesses and what they're doing. And I think that was a breath of fresh air to a lot of persons. So, this is being done here, this is being done here. But I also note the level of competition that is also coming in to the country, and especially and it reinforces what I always talk about, having equitable access, you know. And this is what persons want to see. You know, it's all good and nice for the administration to go out and talk about them wanting to have the business sector. They're doing good for the business sector and all of that. But once there's not equitable access, there's a big issue that we're seeing there. You know, it's crazy. Guys, I see Morel King in there this morning. Good morning to you, Morel, and Carl Fordyce. How are you guys doing this morning? And I'm seeing, is it Gary Archer? Good morning. Gary says, good morning to the FYI family. Give thanks. And I'm seeing, is Beatrice, I'm not getting that, you know. All right, Bishop, I didn't get a comment. It went by too fast, so sorry about that. Uh, hey, Monica Scott, how are you? How are you this morning, Monica? What is going on at your end? And Edward Gonzalez joining from the Bronx. Always here, always a pleasure to have you guys join the conversation and let us have the discussion. I'm not seeing our usual morning trolls as much. I hope they come through. Alana Tang says, good morning, Director. Where is Sherrod? He hangover. I will not be able to say. I can neither confirm nor deny. I see Rudy Hines there this morning. It says, Rudy is saying Girette hold the line until Sherrod gets it. I always do. Come on, this is a good tag team. Don't worry. Guys, Dave Durrell, Dave Durrell and Morning Stoby. Hey morning, what is going on? I see probably understandable hiccups. It's the first expo. Hope to get their act together. When you have that large magnitude of persons have to pass through, somebody actually was asking why they didn't have the actual location at Durham Park, but it's a PP administration, so they're not going to do that. So, Suzanne, how are you doing this morning? Suzanne, what's going on at your end? Guys, we have a lot to discuss, and I want us to join in the discussion. Let's just have the conversation both ways. I don't want to be just talking about it from my end. Sharon must never in Bartica. Bartica, there's a lot going on in Bartica. Oh my gosh, over the weekend, I have so much coming out. We know of the summer regatta there. Yesterday, regatta. I always say regatta, as though there's ER. The summer regatta there, I see loving your bun, says Pixie Dust Smith. The summer regatta was there yesterday, and a lot went on there. I know that there was a bit of a river mishap there yesterday, and I'm just wishing Mark his speedy recovery on that little bit of accident. I think Guyanese critic, as you would know, was also involved in that. But I think the person that had more injuries was Mark, and I wish him a speedy recovery from that. A lot of you have to use extreme caution. Let me just say that a lot of persons believe is when you go to these riverine communities, you could just jump on a jet ski or something like that without much understanding as to river rules and the own set of traffic laws that dictates the use of waterways. It's not as like that, especially yesterday when there was so much there is so much going on the waterways in that little space at the Golden Beach area. You have to be extremely cautious. You have to be extremely cautious. You just don't just get involved in stuff that you don't have understanding for. And I can talk about that because I know of endless cases of with persons who that don't really understand the system, and they end up in with a lot of issues. So thankfully, I don't think anyone was too seriously injured. I'm hoping that that's the case that remains, and let us say, be careful on the waterways altogether. And Joycelyn Williams, I enjoyed the parliamentary debate. Awesome, Joycelyn. I think everyone that joined the parliamentary debate, thank you so much for doing that. I always encourage you to go out and listen for yourselves. I always say, go listen for yourself and listen to what the substances that comes out of these debates. And I'm happy that person go out there and they listen for themselves. I don't say go and listen to the opposition alone. I say go and listen to everyone. Go listen to the government ministers, their level of presentation that they bring to the National Assembly. Absolutely important that you do that. Judge for yourself whether or not they're saying anything that is of substance and that actually makes sense to you. So I'm happy that persons are actually joining the program and making sure that they are properly informed from all levels, all sides, so that they can make the informed decisions as we move forward. Yvonne, I see you, Yvonne Ramsar. Yvonne Ramsar, making sure that I see her there in the comment section. I see all the emojis coming up. And Sharon Alfonso Evans. Hey, Sharon, good morning to you. What is going on at your end? How's the weather out there? Let me know which part of the country you're joining from. I want to tap in on how is the weather at your end this morning. Like, I don't want to, I would hate to know that there's a lot of persons experiencing flooding in their areas. That's something I wish on no one. I hate flood waters, absolutely hate it. I just see it and I just start to get sick. I'm not kidding. I see, is it, well, Sharon, I'm seeing you there, but I see Monica Scott says it's a great morning in Grove. God bless you and the FYI family. Thank you so much, Monica. I'm glad that it's good there in Grove this morning. I see you, June Cameron, in here in the house, and Donna McDonald. How are you doing, Donna? I see. Is it Neri Thomas says, good morning, everyone. Looking from BVI, the British Virgin Islands. You guys are always so welcome here in the house in the morning. It's great to have you. The Caribbean viewers are joining us. You know, you guys are very, very, very dedicated viewers, and I have to commend you for always coming through every single day. Everyone that joins us from the Caribbean, the US, you guys are always here, very diligent, and I am so, so grateful to have you as part of the FYI family. Simon says, okay, I didn't get that. Sorry about that, Simon. I missed your comment. I see you there, Raul Hamilton says it's 83 degrees in Manhattan. I feel cold breeze, but it will help the heat later. Okay, there. I see Roland Carlin. Roland's coming in. You know, Sheridan's gonna be joining us pretty soon. He's on his way. Don't miss him too much there. And Kenneth Dennis says good morning and greetings from London. How is it over there in London? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section what is going on. Riri Mingo Garway watching from Toronto. It's a beautiful, sunny morning there in Toronto. Lovely to know. It's great to have you here with us this morning. And this is Camilla Grant. Did I say that right? I am hoping that I did. I don't want to be off with that bit. Edward Brooms, hot day there in New Jersey. Hey, Edward, good morning to you. I'm always happy to see you joining us in the morning. Guys, anyone saw Spice Man in the house? I'm not sure if I missed his comment a little bit earlier, but if you didn't see him, make sure that you tag him so that you can come through very, very early. Magnell Barrett said, directly your face look like a sweet 16. Well, look how you're going to make me blush this morning. You know, this morning I got up, I wasn't feeling 100%. I think my voice is a little hoarse and all of that. I'm trying to push through with a smile on my face, but it is not without its challenges and difficulty. I can tell you that comment was very good to raise my spirit there. Michelle Cox says, good morning. You know, Jenny Dolavera. I got it right the second time. Jenny Dolavera in Alboystown. Oh, Jenny is in an Alboystown. Water is in the water is in most bottom flats. Absolute craziness. This is chaotic, and this is something that we definitely need to look into. There's so much work that needs to go into making sure that persons are not facing these situations. This is crazy as it is. And I feel the pain of everyone out there. It is absolutely ridiculous that, you know, 2022, biggest budget ever, you know, and persons are still facing these things, as crazy as it is. But guys, as you prepare to welcome Mr. Duncan onto the program this morning, do your part right now. Share the stream. Make sure that everyone has joined and is a part of this bit of credible information that you are going to get this morning. Let me know what is going on at your end. Let me know what is going on at your end. Dave Durrell says, well, Dave Durrell is having a conversation there with Beatrice in the comment section. Let's just get right into the morning papers, guys. It's about that time that we get into the morning papers. And the first bit of news we want to touch on the morning paper is the Rastafarian community concerned over delay of ganja reform laws. You know, the AG hoping to wrap up select committee work before parliamentary recess. This is a big one because, as you would know, there's a lot of talks, you know, the building table for hemp and all of that. And there's concern in the Rastafarian community as to whether or not the hemp bill and everything concerning hemp is going to be taken, is going to be a priority right now. And what we're seeing also going on at this moment is that the ganja bill, and you know, this is one that's very, very serious, very, very serious. Has been sent to select committee, and it seems to be, you know, not moving at the pace persons wanted to move at. And I share this concern. I said it myself. You know, when we come on this program, we spoke about the fact that, you know, a young woman arrested, thrown in jail I think it was 3.2 grams of marijuana, and then an entire intelligence operation on the West Coast. What is the big discovery? 1 gram of marijuana in a young man's hand. Absolute ridiculousness. 2022. This is the country that we're living in. These are the major issues. Persons are being thrown in jail for these matters. It should not be at this point in time. So I am 100% here, and I understand the concern of the Rastafarian community. They're absolutely correct. And you would remember it is none other than Sherry Duncan that tabled the bill in National Assembly to actually have the fathers, young men, particularly young men that are languishing away behind bars. A lot of them, a lot of persons, and I've had this experience myself, spoken to persons myself, 3 years in jail. A teacher was thrown in jail for 3 years because he was found with a joint, smoking a joint. And we are in 2022 with everything that's happening. Persons trying to say that, trying to project Guyana to be this progressive country, you're moving forward in this good. And then you're going to throw someone in jail for a joint. You're going to throw someone in the lockups rather for a joint. And then you have a young woman, 18 years old there. You have her in the lockup for weeks for 3.2 grams of marijuana. This is the level of ridiculousness that people is talking about. So I share the concern. And then we have so much talk about hemp. Persons refer to hemp as marijuana cousin. A lot of persons have been seen on social media and having conversations with would report it because of the similarities. And you're going to have all of this talk about hemp and the industrial hemp and actually moving forward in that direction. And then you still have persons going to jail for 3 grams of marijuana. It's absolute chaos. You do not move forward in that direction. And as such, we share the concerns of the Rastafarian community as is.
Good morning, Julia.
Good morning,
How are you
Mr.
doing?
Duncan.
You look bright.
I am glad
can't say the same for the voice, but
I'm happy that I'm looking because I feel miserable. I feel horrible.
You feel horrible?
Absolutely horrible.
Well, we hope you feel well soon enough. Really hope so. What kind of weekend you had? I heard you went expo and so on.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I was talking to a few Ireland Guyanese, persons like myself, people that actually went there to see what is there.
All the guys, Wally.
Yes, good morning, Shay. I was speaking to persons that were there to ask them if there was anything there that they could have walked away with, personally. Is it what was the benefit to them? But everyone had the same view that yes, it's good to go. It's just a showcase of all the business opportunities. Well, the businesses that is already here in the country. A lot of the foreign companies that want to set up a shop in Guyana and all of that. When it comes to the ordinary Guyanese to go, to what's your takeaway? It's just like you went and view it.
Yeah.
I've heard and view it.
I heard quite a few negative comments about the expo overbooked and a long wait for house lot and
the wait for the house lot was very chaotic. And I did see, listen, and I'm glad you just brought it back up because I know that you particularly put out a post and you were talking about the chaos there. I know, like within half an hour, I saw a little video coming out from I think his MCN, and nevertheless, they were trying to say, "Oh, everything is going calm and collected," but they did it from inside of the tent. But with the chaos,
going to stands.
Yes, they did it from inside the tent
stands,
because what happened is that in the tent, to get in the tent, that was the chaos for persons to actually get in the tent because they have persons for hours, 5-6 hours in the red stands. They're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
There was no system.
Yeah, because when
if you came at 7 o'clock, somebody could come at 3 o'clock and get a seat in front of you. It didn't matter.
Exactly, right? And they were given the numbers, like I said, and when they were finding, I was like, how far along are they with the numbers? If your number is 500 and something, how far are you along with the number? And then no one could have given them an answer for that. And later on in the afternoon, they squashed the whole number system and said that's not being used anymore. And then they had them line up. And all of that is to get in the tent where they were projecting to have this smooth sailing of things. And persons were upset and complaining. Mm-hmm. And it's not okay to come and pretend that didn't happen. And I keep telling people, yes, you put out that little snippet, but the people there that were completely upset and all of that for waiting for 5-6 hours. Yeah. They
Some cases
they
more than
went
that,
away
because
and they know that you're lying.
one woman said to us that she was there very early in the day. She left somewhere around 5, 6, and she said she was somewhere like around C, and they had I waiting. There was a lot, whatever the ticketing system they had.
I think the problem is that I think the problem is that they go in there, and they take the photos and so for the beginning they want to show that, oh, this is happening in this way and all of that. But then when once that beginning phase is over, then the system is just left to the mercies of the administrative staff
Yeah,
to
yeah, and
find
that's
their
the
way
sad part.
around.
That's the sad part.
Yeah,
That's the sad
but I
part.
have to say, well, on that note, let me say that the administrative staff, I have to say kudos to you guys. You be working very long hours, and so to make sure that you do your part in this particular expo. So I have to say kudos to all the folks there from the ministry. You guys really pushed in some work, and I have some colleagues there myself, and I saw them pushing in some real work into making sure that they delivered on their part.
Yep. Good job to all the folks who were part of that. But a number of things we're following in the morning papers, and that's one of them too.
Yeah.
But go right ahead, Drita.
Yeah, but we were just speaking about the Rastafarian community and that bill there. I don't know what you wanted.
Well, we all knew that the administration had no real interest in moving forward on this issue. They just didn't want us, to be great in this regard. And
even
so
to the detriment of the people.
Yeah,
even to the
detriment of the
detriment,
people.
and that's what we saw with the pay public service within a month. They just don't want to go on board with it because it's coming from us.
Correct.
So if it even if it's going to be to the detriment of the people, they're going to go against it.
And that's something folks ought to know. If the coalition, the APNO AFC coalition, had proposed everything the PP is now doing, they would have been against it.
Every single thing.
If you had proposed every single thing that they're currently doing, they would be against it. And that's the problem we have. They parked the bill in a parliamentary select committee, and that's a graveyard. They ain't gonna do no work with that. They're too busy.
Well, what is the funny part about it is that them themselves, there's so many bills that we asked to be sent to select committee for work to be pushed in, and they came out and they had big speeches in the National Assembly about we know what happens when things go to select committee, and then they take that bill and they throw it in a select committee. So if that's their idea of how select committee works, it's as though they sent it there to die a natural death, and we're 100% against it because you cannot come with him when marijuana bill is there.
Correct.
In the
this is the challenge. This is the challenge that we have, and this is an issue on several fronts because there are other things that were sent to the select committee too. And if such an important piece of legislation that could benefit our country, not only for those persons who are a part of the Rastafarian community, but larger than that, the science and so on has overtaken us in hemp and marijuana cultivation and all of that. And for lots of folks now, this is big business, for the true medicinal purposes of marijuana, ganja, and hemp and so on. But so the world has gone forward, and we're still struggling here trying to find agreement on this issue. Like we're trying to find agreement on who should be the next chancellor, who should be the next, chief justice, and all of those things. But we have to find a way forward, and we got to continue to press forward.
And I never could comprehend, like, how is it that it's okay for persons to sit down with a pack of cigarettes and smoke it, but you can't smoke a joint?
Yep. And people in the National Assembly too. So while we're following that, we're also following, an activist is asking for the Access to Information Act, the Access to Information Act. He's relying on that as he's requesting information as to the disclosure of the impressions deal for Building Expo, and it's not only Building Expo. And the company Impressions does a lot of what do you call that kind of work? Graphic design and printing materials. So all those big billboards you're seeing around for Building Expo. I saw quite of them on the quarantine. I was in the quarantine over the weekend at a wedding. Congrats to the Austins who got married over the weekend. And lots of big billboards, and I am assuming that's not the only place they are. And one of those billboards are close to $1 million. And then when you think about the work for the expo of itself, all of those graphic design, those tall, imposing graphics you're going to see. I think when you enter the the expo site is a huge one.
Yeah.
You see Irfan larger than life there, and lots of other stuff. But
I
they
missed
seem
that. I don't
they
know.
seem to
They
get the
wasted money. I
contract.
didn't see it.
They seem to get the contract for all of the national activities, all of the government business seem to go through impression, and it has raised a lot of eyebrows as to, for
This is the
instance,
second bit I'm seeing on this in the
how they go
newspapers.
to
Yeah.
how they go to tendering.
Yeah.
It's sole sourcing,
Yeah.
right? And of course, every government event can be an emergency for sole sourcing.
Exactly.
Clearly, you have a plan. You have bill late, so clearly you have a plan. What is coming next, right? Unless you're like you're just going and you're announcing activities and you're informing
Without
like
consulting
the
anyone.
Minister of Finance and so on.
Everyone's different. That's a different
So
conversation.
this is raising a lot of eyebrows. Remember who's the activist, if we have the notation. Who's the activist who's raising this? Because it's not only him. I saw Starbuck News in several substantive articles raise this issue about impressions getting all of government business where this is regarded. Jonathan Yearwood is the activist, and I support him where this is concerned. A lot of businesses, fearing victimization, don't want to conform, but they're interested to know, because you have a lot of small businesses which benefit, and the rising tide in this case in floating all the boats is impression boat alone, impression big ship floating. And I'm not saying impression shouldn't have money, shouldn't get business, but not to the detriment of other folks.
No, but listen, and I have one principle with these particular things when it comes to this. You have to go through the tendering process. I mean, there's no excuse that you can go and tell me sole sourcing because of emergency or whatever when it comes to an expo that it's been planned for so long, right? And so you have to go through the tendering process. The impressions it's tendered properly. They send in their bids, and whomever win the bid. But you can't bypass all of that. Literally gotten any sense of fairness out of the system, and I expect people not to complain about it. That's the issue that persons are having right now. So most definitely, when it comes to now, we know that the administration, PP administration, they have an issue when it comes to accountability, when it comes to oversight, any bit of transparency. Those words are like kryptonite to them. It just eats them away. They can't deal with those things. So people are asking for it because impressions is there, and we're saying like we're not against any business.
Yeah.
But you have to have a level playing field that all other persons also that does the same type of work, they're given.
Can eat the bread.
Come on.
As somebody say, we want to make sure that they all eat the bread, right? And that's the challenge we have here. But in addition to that, in the morning papers, we're following on. So there's a general manager, Sion Martin, who was killed over the weekend when I think a 25-foot mining pit caved in, himself along with another worker, Troy Scott. They were killed over the weekend. Following that as well.
Yeah, this is absolutely sad. Sean Martin, 32 years old from Lethem, and Troy Scott, 44-year-old from Linden. This is absolutely sad news. And we spoke about this prior for folks that's joining us regularly. You would know we spoke about this before because there are too many cases of people losing their lives when it comes to mining pit, the walls of the pit caving in, and 25 feet. And people don't know is like a lot of people won't have a visual image of what actually happened there. But these people, and I know that they said that the general manager, he was operating the jet, literally a 6-inch dredge, and literally jetting down. But they keep going, and the walls are so high that they go down so deep that then they keep going under. They don't realize it, and the wall cave. And there is so much work that needs to go into making sure that safety measures are actually looked into. And on the Ministry of Labor, they call on them prior.
Has a big role
and
here.
I'm going to call on them again. The Ministry of Labor needs to be doing a lot of work in this department to make sure that mines operate in a way in which it is safe. It's not just okay for a person to go in there. And these persons are in Region 7. There's so many people that are actually not from Region 7 that's mining in Region 7. It's absolutely sad. So our thoughts and prayers, sincere condolences to the family members of these individuals. Very, very sad case. So many young people have lost their lives in this manner. And in addition to that, trees falling on persons' camp and all. It's a very dangerous place to be when it comes to work in the interior.
Dangerous profession.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. It's seriously dangerous. And persons like I don't wish I don't like the setup altogether with this type of work for young people. But for folks that are out there doing it, and in the struggle, in the hustle, as those guys call it, just guys got to be careful. Your relatives out there, make sure that they're careful. They do whatever it is that you know. Don't chase the goal to the point that you are disregarding all the
Yep.
safety
Yep. Yep.
mechanisms to get saved.
Yep. And as we proceed to the morning brew, number of things we're following, including this. It is very, very troubling, guys. What is happening in Myanmar? Very, 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 very troubling. And to know where Myanmar was, and to see where it is now. This is one of the countries that was coming away from all of these military juntas, and what is your lady's name, Mr. Suchi, who got the Nobel Prize of Peace and all that. The country seemed to have been turning a corner, and here we are back talking about pro democracy people being executed and all that. That's not a good place to be at all. It is absolutely not a good place. But you know what? If we don't watch ourselves, we could be numbered among countries like this, because we were on a trajectory too, and we can be talking about some things in the big issue today that tells us we were on a path going somewhere, and to see how we have slipped and how we have slid in such a very, very short space of time, it is very, 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 very concerning to see where Myanmar is, and would have executed what they say is 4 democracy activists over the weekend. And one of them is, I think I just had it here, an activist. I'm looking for his name. Go right ahead. You might have it faster than I do.
Checking through my notes right
now. Yeah, I wanted to call his name because it's important that people stand up for true democracy.
Yeah.
And they have to be in fear in this way. But again, Myanmar was on a path going somewhere towards democracy, and then they've suddenly had this slide back into dictatorship and military authoritarianism and all of that. It's not a good place. And this is a very dark moment in that country to hear that four democracy activists, including Mr. Minu, would have lost his life over the weekend at the hands of the regime.
Well, listen, these are the extremes of when you're talking about a country and acts of dictatorial actions altogether. When you have persons, and it's always been, the report always comes out that they are acts of terrorism or treason and all of those things. Those are the way in which they try to put it over. But a world that's looking on at the large would actually see a very clear picture of what is going on here. And it's crazy that you have 4 persons that's fighting for democracy. It's democracy activists, and those persons are executing. And I think this is one of the more extreme actions that has been taken in a very, very long time. It has been quite some time before any execution was done, and to have 4 activists for democracy actually executed, this is something that a lot of international pressure needs to be put on right now. That's what I can say, because it's all good and nice to say that we're an integrated world and all of that, but when it comes to the tests, these are the tests to see when the big guns are actually going to step in and say, well, enough is enough when it comes to these particular actions. We just
remains to be seen.
Execute democracy.
Remains to be seen. And also, I love that you said it, the big guns. The US, the United Nations, and so forth. Really interesting. But while that's happening, folks, we're following also what is continuing to happen in Sri Lanka. We know lots of you have been following this on that front. Last year, you guys have been following this. And by now, the president, Mr. Rajapaksa, has fled the country. And what becomes of him remains to be seen. But there's an international rights group out of South Africa who have been calling for him to face charges, because they say there's an international jurisdiction where where these kinds of crimes that he's being accused of is concerned, and they're asking for those penalties to be enforced, even though he is now, I think, gone to Singapore. I think it's where he is. The body is called the International Truth and Justice Project, right? And they said that Rajapaksa committed grave breaches of the Geneva Convention during the Civil War of 2009, when he was the country's defense chief, according to a copy of the complaint that was seen by Reuters, where we're picking this up from. They go on to say that the South Africa-based organization, the International Truth and Justice Project, says that based on universal jurisdiction, the alleged abuses were subject to prosecution in Singapore, where Mr. Rajapaksa has fled since he has left office. Interesting times. Interesting times.
Very much so. Very much
Interesting
so.
times. It would be interesting to see how we fare. As we said, countries like this, Myanmar, who we spoke about earlier, were on a certain trajectory, and then suddenly them boys get too covetous, and the alarm bells, are being rung here. Right? People are saying, let's take a pin in this, and you'll see when we get to the big issue, some of what we are talking about in that regard. In addition to that, the World Health Organization, just over the weekend, Drita, has come out and said that the monkeypox outbreak is now a global health emergency, because I think it's now in quite over 70 countries. And so they've come out overnight and they say it's now a global health emergency. And we'll tell you why they are saying that. What is the indication, or what comes next now that they've announced, folks, that it's a global health emergency? And they're telling us, of course, this is the Director General, Tedros Ghebreyesus. That's the Director General, and he's saying that it's a public health emergency, and it's designed. This labeling is designed to trigger a coordinated international response that could unlock funding to collaborate on sharing vaccines and treatment. And we saw our folks here, I think just late last week, were also talking about looking for vaccines. They're trying to source vaccines, and so that is what Mr. Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the WHO, the World Health Organization, is saying. It's now a World Health emergency. Yeah.
We've been talking about this for quite some time, from the absolute inception.
We have.
From the first reporting of the monkeypox case, we've been talking about it, telling you guys what the symptoms are, what to expect, and all of that, and if you're experiencing them, to get to the nearest healthcare facility, particularly if you have traveled from any country that has already reported that they have cases of monkeypox there. So once you're traveling from countries that had monkeypox, you make sure that you are very cautious. One thing that COVID taught us, and I think that everything that's happening now is continuing to reinforce it when it comes to making sure that we keep ourselves safe, clean, healthy, all together. The level of sanitizing that persons are now, it's embedded in us. So many places you go and you see a sanitizer, you just take it and you rub your hands, because COVID had brought us to this point.
Yeah.
Monkeypox is a bit different, just a little bit.
My only concern with all of the sanitizers is how much I'm absorbing of the alcohol.
Yeah, I was
because every place you turn, you kind of sanitize your hands. No, I'm a little concerned now for my own self. But I haven't seen any study on
that.
Like,
you over sanitize.
Yeah, like how much alcohol I'm absorbing from that standpoint. So that is on the international front. Regionally, folks, here are some of the things we're following. We're so happy that so many of you are joining us. Is it Riri? It's a lot of Ri's here. A lot of Ri's here. Lynn Fernandez, once Lynn is here, we can see your partner. Lena Williams can't be too far behind at all. We're so happy that all of you guys are joining us. Thanks for joining us, guys. But this is a bit of sad news now, because we're seeing several dead after boat with Haitians capsized in Bahamian waters, and we see too much of this. Haiti is a CARICOM country, and I don't know what is being done. And if anything is being done, I would love to know what more could be done. But Haiti seems to be, a lone ranger fighting for itself. And we got to get some intervention here. Several dead after boat with Haitians capsized. Of course, fleeing the conditions in Haiti. Things seem to be spiraling since President Moise would have been assassinated, spiraling out of control. that is, and now several dead as the authorities are relating. I think we're picking this up via Loop Caribbean. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go to all our Haitian brothers and sisters. If it's not one thing, it's the next. But again, our thoughts and prayers. Some other stuff we're following regionally, folks. Regionally, again, we picked this up out of a publication called Caribbean Weekly. I didn't see anything here locally on this as yet, but Caribbean Weekly is telling us that 1,000 black belly sheep are going to be here next week.
I think the most important part of this reporting is that we are not hearing it in the news.
Yeah.
The discussions have not been had here, but we're getting the news out of Caribbean Weekly because it still happens that what if it's happening in Barbados seems to be that those things are discussed at public forum. The people are informed by the Barbadian administration as to what is going on, especially when it comes to their endeavor business that they transact with other countries. So we seem to have to go in that direction when we want to hear this news, and it's interesting. What's very
1,000 black belly sheep. So I guess we can look forward to that, and that is part of that. Really and truly is part of what came out of that International Agri Expo we had recently. And remember, we were ambitious to set a production target of to reduce food import bill for the Caribbean by 30 million US. Right? This is part of that whole thing.
Well, that's one of the. I did speak about this particular target, and one of the things that I'm yet to see anyone actually taking up the conversation on. Something I spoke about very early, in which I mentioned the fact that I wanted to see how the US would have been reacting to this plan. And there we had, none other than Air Finale and team went there to the US, being
they've just left. Let's see.
No.
Seems to have been someone to be did.
With they went there and Biden actually put forward his plan, and he was speaking specifically also to food security and the US role in that. So at some point in time we have to see the conversations being had as to where these two plans coincide and where they don't.
Look some of what is contained in this Caribbean plan that's being pushed by the fellas on this side. They want to do some brackish water shrimp, a lot of shrimp focus. They're investing 150 million to boost production of this brackish water shrimp. Pacific white leg shrimp, they're investing 200 million. All this is part of pulling down the Caribbean food import bill. We seem to have a palette for shrimp, and then shrimp research also. They're plugging, I think, let me make sure I get it right. Is it $200 million too in that? This shrimp research, they're going into poultry production. They're looking to do 50,000 metric tons. For the move from that rather to 90, right? And I just saw a woman over the weekend lost a lot of chickens in Region 3, and then they want to do corn and soya production. They want to do vegetable production as well, increase rice production, but that ain't going too good for them at all. And then there's the sheep production, the black belly sheep. They want to move from 60,000 metric tons of rice to 800 and something. Am I getting that right?
I have 60,000 metric tons to 47,000 metric tons when it comes to the rice.
No, the rice is from 560 to 847.
I'm not.
It's the old ice. 560 metric tons. They want to go to 847. And no rice production is down. So if you can't meet your domestic targets for rice, I don't know how you're gonna meet it regionally. Same thing with sugar. And this is all part of their the push to help to pull along the import bill. Interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we're following. Folks, we tell you how we do our research here. We do our research here. We tell you all that. We do our research. So we're following that, this importation of black belly sheep and how that's going to be going.
But before we just rush past
Yeah,
that particular conversation when it comes to the target, 25 by 25, I think 25% down by
yeah,
2025. But that's what the discussion was around and all of that. But yes, we're seeing the numbers. Yeah, we're getting the numbers is coming out. You're saying this is the aim and all of that when it comes to the Caribbean, bringing down the import, the food import bill and all of that. However, the conversation still have to go back into the all the concerns that was raised is even here when we had that international forum also.
yeah.
You
The
know, the
International Agri
conversation
Expo. Yeah.
that conversation still needs to be had with those concerns. The fact that what actual regulations have you put in place to enable this particular action? How do you enable getting bringing down your importation by 25% by the year 2025? We're in the year 2022 right now. And what are the real policy measures that you have taken as a country when it comes to your trade and the way in which you do business with your fellow Caribbean country
Yeah,
men? And that hasn't been the discussion. So it's
that
always
is
nice to
that is
say that.
and that's the macro. The micro of it is that you're not even, for instance, if you want to supply the Caribbean with sugar, you're not even meeting domestic supply. Look, rice is down, and this is something we were discussing over the weekend. Rice is down, rice production locally is down, sugar production is down also,
Yeah.
right? And you can go across the sectors. You know, we were talking about how Winston Jordan was saying, don't listen to this thing about fastest growing economy and all that. Look at the non-oil GDP and
That's
see
the
where it's
only
going,
thing
which is rice,
every
sugar,
time we
bauxite
speak, we
down,
speak about
bauxite
that.
down 18%.
Every
You,
time
you know,
we speak
right
about
across the board. So this is going to be a challenge thing for them to meet that, and that is what every commentator said about this. These conferences always have a big hype and so on, but to go home individually and to implement now.
But it's not only that, and there's so much conversation that needs to be had, especially when you want to reduce the food importation by 25%. And the largest part of it is actually what is being imported. What are the actual things that are being imported?
Do we want to give up a sweet tooth? You know?
That's my point.
Do we want to?
When it comes, consumers are very, very different set of people.
Yeah.
Consumers are way
Yeah.
when it comes to what is good to my appetite may not be good to yours and all of that.
Hello.
So you have to look at what is actually being important. I think a little bit of the conversation did happen when person said we may have to shift as to things that things that we are used to consuming to things that are going to be boosted here. So the big question is, I hear all the talk about the black belly sheep and all of that, but is black belly sheep is a product of black belly sheep something that we import on a large quantity? Why is it that this is one of the things that you're going into? That I'm not saying that's not something that we should go into, but I'm saying that's the direction the conversation needs to be in. Right? We need to see what is our consumption of that particular item to see that should be guiding the policy direction as to what we invest in. But when it comes
Here's
to
to hoping. Here's to hoping. Here's to hoping.
Conversation.
Yep. Some other stuff we're following regionally, folks. This is a little worrying. Grenada has confirmed an outbreak of gastroenteritis. Right? And they say overnight they've gone from I think 27 cases to close to 100 cases, and they say we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem, and so they're watching this. Again, folks, Grenada confirming the outbreak of gastroenteritis.
Well, that is serious as ever. As growing up, my mother told me so many stories about that particular, sickness, and that's something that we need to watch very, very carefully.
What a time we're living in,
Jesus,
I was listening
What
to
is
TD
it?
Jakes just this morning.
What is
My
it?
devotion, and I was listening to him articulate all of the things that confront us on a daily basis. It's COVID and all the variants, COVID and the 1,000 variants that it has, right? You got gastroenteritis, there's so many things confronting you. It's so many things, and then you got that point.
Everything.
Yeah, monkeypox and the followers. Quite a time we're living. But locally, folks, we're learning that Airfield and the team, they're off to Washington. As he said, it looks as though they were summoned to Washington. How you folks are there doing? Looks as though they were summoned. See, Todd is going. Mr. Jackson is going. some other folks are in the entourage of the what do you call it, Foreign Secretary, Robert Prasad. He's in part of the delegation as well. Don't know too much about what is responsible for this, but as we get more of it, of course, y'all fast, y'all gonna know. y'all gonna know. So the president, FYI, is leading a government team to Washington. Right? Let's see how that goes, folks. Let's see how that goes. Serena, any thoughts there? Right?
Well, I'm actually going to be waiting to see how that little discussion come out altogether. Good. So I just want to just bring forward one of the comments that I'm reading right about now. When we have our experts coming through, we have to take a pause for a moment, and none other than Mr. Winston Jordan is there in the comment section this morning. It says, "Good morning, Jaretta and Sherrod. We need to move beyond slogans to concrete actions in pursuit of realistic goals when it comes to agriculture." And basically, Mrs. Jordan just sum it up right there. It's all good and nice to have the slogans and to have all of these plans and to say that this is where you're projecting things. And if we are to take any example from what has been the projections that has been made by none other than the PVP administration, particularly when it comes to numbers coming out of the Minister of Finance and so forth, they are yet to achieve any of those targets. And this is something that I stress on so much. I mean, they don't like to hear it, but it's the truth. So when you know that that's their track record, they're making all these plans now. Well, not even making plans. They're saying all of these things, but it doesn't have the concrete plan to how do they implement? What methods are there to implement? And Mr. Jordan is there making that very point. So we are 100% in agreement with that. This share is here from Mr. Jordan. We're going to be utilizing it as soon as possible.
Yeah. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. So while we're following that, we're also following this. Because we saw overnight, Article 13 had a lecture series quite recently, and one of the persons speaking there was Dr. Desmond Thomas, who is very concerned and said to the effect that Guyana's electoral system is under a stranglehold by a few. We understand that too well. Again, if I'm to pivot from what Mr. Jordan said, we talk a good talk, right? We talk a good talk, but we walk in, right? It's quite interesting because York Mahadi and the folks who were part of this Article 13 group came out from the Guardians of Democracy. They were part of that. And now when you see the administration heading in a particular direction, people seem to have abandoned that train and are now on their own train. People seem to have woke up a little late.
Listen. When it comes to having a voice, an independent voice, more importantly, it's not something that the PVP administration is ever going to cushion. It's not something that they're going to support. If your voice is in sync with whatever they want to hear, they're going to give it support. They're going to say, "Oh, this person is doing great. They're speaking wisely." But once your voice, the independence of your voice is in a direction that is not in sync with what they're saying, they don't want to hear anything from you. And that's why you see persons from a lot of persons that's in the Article 13 that was in that whole umbrella of the Guardians of Democracy, as it was referred to back then. Those persons, a lot of those people wanted to have an independent voice. That's what they believed in, and they wanted to go forward with what they believe moving forward. But they didn't realize that the administration doesn't work like that. So they're going to be, well, not they're going to be, they are facing the reality of the fact that an independent voice is not something that is supported by the PVP administration.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to see so many of you have joined us this morning. It's Monday, the 25th day of July. We got a couple of days left. Trust that you guys who are joining us, a little closer to accomplishing your goals and so on for the month, your objectives and so on. Hopefully you set some and you're looking back and you're thinking how close you are, how far you are. You're going to pick up the pace a little bit if you need to. And we encourage you guys to share the program, share it live, folks. Smash that emoji button as well for us. And here's why those folks are this is the reality rather, that the guys are waking up to this morning. Sugate is still with us. And ain't going no place. Sugate is still with us and it ain't going no place. And this is what we're talking about. The challenges that we are facing, are grave challenges. One of the sloganeerings, as Mr. Jordan said, is the fact that they have, it's almost laughable when you think about it. They have returned Guyana's image on the world stage. They have now returned us to high prominence on the world stage. Wow. Interesting. Well, Sugate is going no place. And that's the big discussion. This is the big issue this morning for discussion. PPP is corruption because it is so pervasive. You can't escape it. We'd like to come and talk about some soft things and start the day, but it's right there confronting us all of the time, Rachel. All of the time.
That's right.
Right? All the time. And one of the issues that we're looking at as we talk about this, is TGI, I think this morning, if I'm correct, came out. This is the Transparency International
Guyana Institute.
The Guyana hub, the Guyana chapter of the body, and they're calling for an investigation into the Vice News disclosures.
It's it's about time, because I particularly was very concerned the fact that I didn't hear any call from a TIGI, because that those bodies are there for a reason.
And just over last weekend, it was the former Auditor General Alan Gulsiran saying that these allegations are grave and should be investigated. Now, they've come out in different quarters and said different things,
Yeah.
Irfan says the police should go ahead and investigate what the Chinese are saying, and then you had Robeson Ben, who said that, the police should move ahead with the investigation. But from the reading of some of the pundits and political commentators, they said, no. Don't let me fool yourself. Jagdeo is front and center. He's the linchpin and kingpin. He has to be investigated. And here this morning, we have TIGI, the Transparency Institute, the Guyana hub of it, is saying that there should be an investigation.
Yeah.
There should be an inquiry into the disclosures. In any other countries, in any of the other countries, heads would have rolled.
Yeah.
And here, it's just another Monday. And that is a bad place to be. That's why we said, we're not too far. Because when you start talking a little bit too much, you end up like Myanmar. Right? You start pro-democracy, right? You end up like what's happening in Myanmar. You end up like what's happening in Sri Lanka. So it's a lot of stuff happening. And that's just TGI over the weekend. While we're following all says, we discussed the corruption of the PPP. Look, could you imagine? Sue made these allegations against the vice president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and nobody knows Sue there. This was Mr. Jagdeo's neighbor, who a lot of commentators said is poor judgment on his part. Mr. Jagdeo seemed to have a lot of shady friends who went to jail on the way to jail. The Ahmads of this world, the Khans of this world, the Sus of this world, the Jurangs of this world, right? A lot of shady friends. He seems like a very poor judgment where friends is concerned. You know what the old people say? Do you think you know it? Yeah, I think you know it. Show me your friends and I'll tell who you are. The papers is reporting this morning, Sue hasn't been seen since mid-February. The fellow who paid his rent up to May, and we hear Sue paying about $2 million US rent. About $2 million US rent. He paid it up to May. Right? But he ain't gone back apparently to empty house. And so unless it's, he's renting the clothes, he's left everything behind, and he's now fleeing. I haven't seen a wanted bulletin, because they said they want to serve papers on him, eviction or what have you. Right?
We need to be concerned with.
So this is in the papers this morning. That's stuff we're making up. The papers doing a follow-up on Sue. They said they can't seem to find it.
The most important part, I think, in this a little bit is that, as being reported, it says Sue whereabouts are known last in February, but it went on to say that has resigned from the Association of Chinese Enterprises.
I wonder why.
Right?
I wonder why.
She has resigned from the Association of Chinese Enterprises.
I wonder why. And the Chinese embassy came out and said all of their people are up and up. Right? If there's nothing here, there's nothing here, nothing to see here. Why resign? Why on the run?
So,
quote unquote on the run, because some people are hiding in plain sight,
Yeah. The question is going to be, the bigger question is going to be right now, who is new Sue? and that's the biggest question. And or who are the new Sues of Guyana
I
right
think
now?
what you're saying is that nothing will change. They just go deeper underground.
No, I'm saying that the
Right?
players will change.
Right? You just go deeper underground, but the
Yeah.
situation won't change.
Yeah.
When you come in the living room now, you might gotta go through a lie detector. You might gotta
It
go
may
through
be a
a
different
metal detector.
It may not
You
never
know,
be a living room anymore.
you might get pat down.
You know, it may not be a living room anymore.
Might be up the river at a resort on a bar. Someplace like that. One of the big fancy hotels that throwing up.
I think you know we can go into so many aspects of the conversation, but I have to go back to Transparency Institute, Guyana Inc. The fact that they call there's a commission of inquiry should be done into these allegations.
Yeah.
I mean, we support that, and I want to say that it's not going to be long before you see members of the administration, the guilty sharers of this world and so forth, coming forward, and suddenly they're going to know that the Transparency Institute Guyana Inc. is not properly put together.
They had election
they had
a long time.
Where
were they? The protracted period during the election and all. Very correct.
Yeah.
Very correct.
Wait and see.
What I was wondering is, like, in this government, you got some people with high moral rectitude and so on. How come none of them are resigned yet? There are a lot of people who they resign over the protracted period of the election and resign because of this and resign because of that. How none of them have followed yet? And while you ponder on that, good folks, this is what Ralph Clan is saying over the weekend. He said the corruption is getting worse.
Oh,
right?
I'm glad everyone is seeing it.
Corruption is getting worse. I'm pulling the headline as it is. High level office should be set up to counter it. Right. Now, Ralph Lamcran should be told left the PPP because of corruption. How corrupt they were. Right? Part of why he left them. And he's saying corruption is getting worse. Oh, you don't believe New AFC? Y'all label all of us. We parliamentarians under them. You see, the show has been run by parliamentarians. It's New AFC talking here. Right? But look, Ralph Lamcran on the other side. He's saying corruption is getting worse. I don't know if there's a difference here, but we said that over the weekend, Alan Goldstrand was calling for the same thing, an investigation. Yeah. He was advocating that an international body be put in place to look at this, because lots of the organizations here are basically they compromise a little bit. They got some people who depend on the administration for things.
Well, I still have.
And they might not be best suited, as Goldstrand said, they don't have the capacity, let's put it that way, to do the investigations. International body. Ralph Lamcran says you should put together something, an office that looks at corruption.
Yeah, so, and what is so difficult?
Right?
What is so difficult about
if the system just functions, we won't get the problem in the structure.
We're talking about this here, right? We're talking about various players. There are people that we know that they do their work. So let me just put it over like that. There are people that we know do their work. Ramkran, one such person, out there speaking out and all of that, and Goldstrand and all of those folks that knows the way in which things should be done. When you talk about corruption, especially when it comes to the money management of the country altogether, you want to put these people together and say, well, you guys are in charge. It will never happen under the PP administration. They will never, ever, ever put persons like that together and say that, oh, well, you guys are, you take charge and be the oversight of these things. They will never do it. And that is a real test to whether or not there's any level of transparency altogether. And it's not. If you want to have those things, you will take the experts and put them in places that they can overlook, that they can put the guideline. And this is regardless of which admin, regardless of who is in office. Let me put it like that. Regardless of who is in office, we need to have structures and systems in place that is going to make sure that the resources of the country are being spent in a right way. And that persons are not stealing taxpayers' dollars. Natural resource fund, the money is not being squandered. We have to put systems in place that's going to benefit the country. This is not about PPP or APNU, AFC and all. We must come to a point in our country that we have a structure in place that is going to provide good oversight and management altogether. And I'm going to the PAC, as I leave here, I'm heading to the Public Accounts Committee. in which none other than Gail to share again. I don't know why. Something Gail should just resign and go home. None other than Gail to share again.
Talk a good talk.
Is there going to the
Talk a good
PSC
talk.
this morning? She's gonna come with her promise.
Yeah.
And we are
more
here
rectitude.
And with that, she lies with such perfection. I've never seen it in my life. She is like excellent at putting a straight face.
Corruption riddle government, right?
But she's going there today, and we're talking about it. All of these things are playing to the same. It's the same thing. It's one of the same. We're going to the PSC today, and we have to fight the fact that Gail Teixeira is bringing, but she's going to bring a motion today. You're going to look at UNSC, and she's going to say that they can't add the 2019 and 2020 reports together. Why? Because she doesn't want to discuss anything from the 2020 report. Why? Because that's when they took office. And the amount of things. We have not been afraid. We've been investigating our years. We have been investigating our years. We have been going all the time to the meetings. We haven't been skipping meetings. They can't say that we have been skipping meetings because we are investigating. Or we have been going, we've been showing up, we've been investigating, we've been asking the pertinent questions. We've been saying these are the systems that are failing, regardless of under whom and where and how. These are the systems that are failing. These are the systems that needs to be fixed. And we have to get to a point in which we have a system and everybody can agree, but it's not going to happen on the TV. I'm speaking and even hearing myself, I know that this is not going to happen. So it's just frustrating to that point.
So as rough as it is, we got to forge a way forward, folks. We got to keep pressing. Got to pick up the pace. A lot of us, we got to pick the pace up. We want to thank you for joining us this morning. That's going to do it for us. And this end for our time. We're so happy that some of you guys are here. I see Marlon Thomas will have joined us, and Sadie, Norris Kerwin King, the one and only Region 10 RDC Councillor, Norris King. Thanks for joining us as well, and Glenford Gordon, all of the other beautiful, lovely folks. Marlon, how are you doing? Marlon, how's Linden? Good to have you.
And nurses view that we need international scrutiny as opposed to anything in our locally. And I spoke about this a couple of times, nurses. We do agree on that principle.
Yeah, which is good.
You can't put cat to watch milk.
None of the organization here got the capacity to do it.
You can't have them name persons
do it with integrity
to investigate them. That doesn't make sense. So
you can see Prem Mazir heading it. He's a man focused on transparency.
It's so good to have been here with you guys this morning.
All of you. Ronald Warrell and Warnella Garnett, Bella Mona, all the usual suspects, guys. Thank you so much. You guys, we want you to share the program so others get this valid, credible information. Smash that emoji button for us. We're going to see you guys right back here at 12 for our podcast. We continue the discussion a bit. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys.